What is it that people who are reaching their dreams and living full lives, what is it that they're doing differently than those who are not able to get up in the morning? You've got to get yourself to believe as if you are now having the thing that you want. So you've got to start walking, talking, acting as if this dream has already manifested in your life.
Taron Tomlinson is a woman unafraid of dreaming big. She's a firm believer in manifesting what for others seems impossible.
I always grew up with a sense that there was something more to life than just the ordinary, just what you see. And that has influenced me in a very big way. At a very young age, you know, when I'd wish for something, like I'd want it to rain, all of a sudden then, you know, it would rain. Or I'd want something particular and I'd manage to then see it come about. I had the feeling that my thoughts or desires had a result and an effect. I didn't exactly know what it was. I just knew that there was something more and I was just intrigued by it. And so I really wanted to understand how to communicate with it. And so, yeah, I've spent most of my life just trying to understand it. Growing up with a single parent, my mom, you know, we had tough times. I know what it's like to not have it all. There were times when, you know, you come home and the only thing in the fridge is ice water, ice blocks and tomato sauce, and you've got to get creative. You know? I was born in Cape Town and I lived most of my life in Woodstock with my mom, who moved around quite a bit. One of the things that I was introduced to at a very young age with my father was magic. He would throw coins into a pot and you can hear it go chling, but there's no coins there when you look. Or he would take his thumb off. Young, walking down the road, he'd take a leaf and make a whistle out of it. So I was introduced into that mystery from a very young age. Writing has always played a very big role in my life. I wrote a poem about my mom called Mysterious Gypsy Woman. Gypsy, mysterious gypsy woman, traveling nomad looking for pastures green. Gypsy, mysterious gypsy woman, show me what you've seen.
She had this magnetism. She was very lovable. She loved dancing. She loved interacting with people. But she was not so active in athletics. When she first started running, I thought, oh my God, this child is not going to make it to the finish line.
Why did you think that?
She just looked so clumsy. But in other things, she was strong. She would surprise me with her singing.
Al 21 del mestre I nostri soldi erano già finiti. Io pensavo a mia madre che ridevo I suoi vestiti. Io più bella era nero coi fiori non ancora passati.
When did your love for all things Italian begin?
Besides writing, I also had the love of art. Learning about Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and all of these great sculptors and painters that existed throughout time. You know, there's no better hub than Italy itself. The cobblestone streets and the markets. You know, I was definitely inspired by it. Ancora non c'è. Sai, lo facciamo della prima parte. Sì, della prima parte.
Dai, l'inizio.
Perché sai, qui ci sono due versi, no?
Sì.
C'è la prima, il carrete passato, e poi c'è l'uscita di scuola, ma c'è un po' di musica, ci sono due vari tra quelle due parti.
Ok.
I also love the old Italian songs that played such a great influence on, you know, different genres of music. We used to have karaoke parties with our family, and of course, invariably someone would want to sing Volare. Not that many people understood the words or even knew it, but life really opened up for me when I was in high school. I went to high school in town, and so I was really in the center of the city. And so, of course, that, fed my soul, because it's every day it's new and it's different. And there's such contrasts in the type of people that you see around. I had that sense of when I was like, 17, 18, that life was beginning to open up for me.
But then, during her final year of high school, everything changed. It was the beginning of a journey that would test Tarryn's beliefs and her strength in ways that neither she nor those around her could ever have imagined.
One evening, I got out of bed, and as I stood up, it just felt like my knee had jumped out of socket. It was extremely painful, and I just basically thought that I twisted, my knee as I got up. And so, I kind of like hopped along. It was inflamed and it was red and swollen, but I didn't pay much attention. I really just thought I'd hurt myself.
We just rubbed it off as muscular or something that she must have just overexerted herself with some activity or something. And then it slowly got, it just didn't want to go away. It was a nagging thing. And then we eventually took her to doctors. I took her to a few doctors. And they basically just told me it was just muscular things and just treated it for that. And then from there, it just rapidly, it just turned into something more. And I thought, no, it cannot be that. There's something deeper going on here.
It progressed after a week or so to the next knee. I was about 18 at the time, coming towards the end of my 18th year. Then I went to a couple of doctors who suggested that I go to a rheumatologist because he thought that it was juvenile arthritis.
Taron Tomlinson was in her final year of high school when she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a debilitating progressive illness with no known cure. It was sudden, life-changing, and confronting on every possible level. While her friends were on the cusp of starting new lives, Tarryn's was shrinking, and there was a strong possibility that she'd never walk again.
The disease progressed extremely quickly. I went from probably within a couple of months to having my hands completely swollen. I couldn't even lift up a brush or a knife or a fork. I was in excruciating pain day and night because it didn't just affect one of my joints, it affected almost all of my joints.
I ran away from work, and I remember still I had no money, and I was working in a furniture shop, and I had this patient's deposit money in my jacket, and I had to use it just to get into Cape Town Hospital, because I had to see someone more, because everywhere I was taken to, I was getting the same diagnosis. And from there, they discovered that she had rheumatoid arthritis.
There was no cure for arthritis. It was very severe, but they didn't know if it was, inflamed, going to be for a short period, for a long period. No one really knows how the body is going to react. They only give you the medication with the hope that it would, slow down the progression.
I started looking at ways of changing the diet, going to do alternative medicines, because also what I was reading about the medication, it was also a lot of toxins feeding into the body, and I was also I didn't want my child to be pushing all that stuff into her because it was quite aggressive stuff treatment that she was on. So we did acupuncture, I tried all different kinds of things. I took her to strange places.
I was at home a lot, and so I spent a lot of time alone, and it's also a lot of time that I spent reading. I was kind of cut off from people for a while. I was bedridden. I could hardly move. That's how painful it was. And I'm talking about, even if someone needed to come and sit on my bed, just if they sat on the edge of the bed, just the mere motion of sitting down was excruciatingly painful. You know that feeling? Have you ever dropped something really, really heavy on your toe? Like really heavy? Because at the beginning stage, it's like numb, and then afterwards, it's like so painful you don't want to touch it. You just like, you don't want to, so that's what it feels like, but in every joint.
I didn't understand what it was all about. I didn't understand the illness, the disease, and why. And there's just so many things out there that you want to try and get your child on the journey, because that's all that you're focusing on, is to get her up and better.
Because I had the arthritis in my wrists, crutches, then I couldn't use because I couldn't put that kind of pressure on my wrists and on my shoulders. So then I needed to use the wheelchair. And I remember going to write my matric. I did my matric via correspondence, so I had to leave school because we had so many steps. It was old schools, so there's so many steps, and I couldn't navigate the steps every day. So I had to leave school.
You sort of think, okay, now where do I fit in? Where did that come about? Did I not feed her properly? What did I do wrong in my life that made her ill? I wasn't, there's a lot of guilt. Any mother would probably think you never gave your kid enough, maybe love, attention, or whatever it was that was lacking. You just feel terrible.
College, where's Progress College? Down at the bottom over there on that side. It's still further now, close to Max.
When Tarryn did first start getting sick, we were just really young, and I remember the first time that I noticed Tarryn was ill. We had a few things planned over the whole weekend, and she really struggled. The periods where she missed school got a little bit longer, and I'd go and visit her at her mom's house, and I think that she hid a lot of the negativity of it away from us. For a time, she did kind of regress from social activity. And she just always made it, seem like it wasn't that bad. She'd say, oh, I'm fine, just come and give me a massage, or come and rub my hands for me, or come and rub my back for me. I think it was particularly hard for me when I understood what an illness was, because I didn't really understand it before. I remember endless nights of high heels and, going to events and doing things with her, and it did make me feel like, did I somehow contribute towards her being this way and getting sick?
She never complained. So for me, I thought everything, what I'm doing, it's just going to be okay. It's just going to be fine. In that way, she also made me stronger, because she never moaned, or she never uttered a word of anger or her discomfort with anything.
I didn't like the stigma that was attached to it, and the kind of feeling of being pitied because of it. Because I was fiercely independent. and strong, and would just about do everything myself. So now when you need to depend on people, it becomes extremely hard. And you know that I always was terrified that I would run into people that I knew from my past. I didn't mind meeting new people, you know, then, but people that I'd meet from my past who would say like, oh, what happened to you? You know, like in that. So that was very hard to deal with. I needed to get over my ego. But when you chat into doctors, no one can give you an end date or some type of cure that they're going to say, take this and then everything is going to be fine. You have to search for meaning and for answers. And that's when I turned a lot to alternative therapies, alternative ways of thinking. And that was really the only hope that I could hang on to. So I read lots of books on biology, on the mind-body connection, on spirituality, the universe at large. Firstly, they taught me to take responsibility in the sense that, you know, I was unhappy in most areas of my life and I was the only common denominator in all of them. If you're going to change anything, you have to start with yourself. I learned that everything is about perspective. So that we think that we live in a wonderful world where nothing bad will ever happen is a bit of an illusion. The purpose of life is not to try and have nothing bad happen to you, but it's about being able to know how to have a proper perspective so that when it does, you know how to confront things. That's probably one of my favorites, The Art of Happiness.
Okay, I'm just going to take them all out.
Yeah. I love reading, you know, and it always offers you a different perspective. It's like having a group of wise friends that you can learn from by just picking up a book. This one taught me the importance of being in the present moment.
It's hard to be in the moment when your body's aching.
Yeah, exactly, because you're trying to escape the moment, right? Because the moment is filled with pain. But then actually when you realize when you are just present and you manage to switch off all your thoughts and you are in the moment, you actually have this ability to lessen the pain that you're in. There was one particular stage where it was for a few days that I managed to stay in the present and my body started feeling what I felt was a regeneration. All of a sudden I had tingling sensations all over my legs. I started coughing up like loads of phlegm, which I think was just my body's way of, you know, getting rid of whatever was there. But then my energy increased. I could jump out of bed, jump into my wheelchair, didn't have that stiffness. And up until that point, I'd been on lots of medication. And after those few days, I went off all medication and I didn't need anything after that again. We kind of taught to believe that, you know, the spiritual world is all frou-frou and it's all out there and it's intangible and stuff like that. Well, it is, but then also not. But there's actually technology behind, well, there's mental sciences of how to actually use your thoughts and your minds correctly. And one of the things is that, you know, we always focused on what it is that we don't want, that we don't like. And so what is really important is that you then make that mental switch to focusing on what it is that you do want to experience. Once you decide what it is that you want and you put your focus on that, that then becomes your new reality. Child and being influenced by magic, I used to see how, you know, thoughts would come about. You know, when you grow older, you kind of just put it down as to, you know, nonsense. But there was always something inside me that says this is true. I decided that I want to put these into practice. If I was busy testing these laws of the universe, I needed to set a goal for myself that was big so that if it came about, I knew that it wasn't just out of chance happening. I decided I wanted to visit Italy. But not only that I wanted to visit Italy, I wanted to stay there for longer than a year, and I wanted to live in absolute luxury. There was, you know, no job, no money, in a wheelchair, No connections, no people that I knew that could make it happen, no trust fund, nothing of the sort. It's a major leap of faith to believe in something that isn't in your life and that has no logical way of showing up for you. It's like looking into the dark and seeing something that isn't there.
Taron Tomlinson, a rheumatoid arthritis sufferer, was confined to a wheelchair with almost no funds to her name when she announced an audacious plan to live in Italy for more than a year, in great comfort and luxury.
You've kind of got to convince yourself that it's happening, even though nothing is happening. So I did things like I would write down my affirmations. You know, like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm going to Italy and that I'm living this wonderful life and I'm getting to see the museums and do all of these things. So I'm writing that down, and each time I'm writing it, I'm feeling it as if it's happening. So it's really important that, you know, I needed to walk in the faith, so to speak. I went to have my passport pictures taken. I went to find out where the embassy was. I started to teach myself Italian, and I had one Italian-English dictionary that a Swiss couple gave to me that I met in town once, and they gave me this dictionary, and then I had one Italian grammar book that my aunt got for me at a second-hand bookstore.
Did people think you were nuts?
Yes, my cousins would make fun of me and call me Miss Italy, because, you know, they would come and see me sitting here at the table, and they would see me sitting at the table and be asking me, like, what are you doing? And then her friend got a movie for me. And so I taught myself how to speak Italian, slowly but surely. I was convincing myself, and I had no problem with telling people.
Diventano un problema. Io faccio miracoli, ma non basta mai.
It's a great way to learn a language, I have to say. This is a lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Solo non ce la faccio, però io ho pensato che tutti e quattro insieme come a bei tempi. Una battuta uno, una pregiata l'altro. Quanti li abbiamo distrutti, ragazzi, insieme li facciamo un polpetto.
Would you talk to yourself when you're watching the movies?
Always. I would, repeat things very often when I was studying the words and studying it. So I'd walk through the house and telefono. No, telecamera. And so I'd go through and say all of these things. Libro. And just keep on repeating it,
Sci, cavalli, mare, sotto coppia di pelto. Ma chi se li ricorda più?
Popcorn?
Grazie.
Prego.
Wow! Sei brava.
Vai a lavarti la faccia.
He says, now you go to the bathroom and you wash your face. And you stop with this
Nonsense.
Go.
What's your nonsense in Italian? Stronzate.
It did sound like a crazy dream, because I was like, where did you come up with all of this stuff? But she had geared her entire being to do this, and there was no talking her out of it. She convinced her mother that this is what they should do.
And I thought it was, what is this woman crazy? With who? How are you going to... With who are you going to stay with? How are you going to maintain yourself? Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to provide for you? You're absolutely mad.
I suppose people were looking at me and they were just seeing the limitations. Okay, so they were seeing me in a wheelchair. They were seeing my reality as such. It was just something that I really, really wanted, and I was investing energy into it. And so, I needed to contend against their doubt and fear.
I did a vision board. And on the vision board, I put a jet, and I put 30,000 rand, and I put Tarryn's picture, and I put a picture of Italy. And we used to look at that vision board for a couple of months, and I said, is that where you want to be? And she says, yes, Mom.
Tarryn's aunt then stepped in and bought her a ticket to Italy. Her mom would accompany her, and a cousin would join them from London. It wasn't Tarryn's one-year lap of luxury goal come true, but it was going to be the adventure of a lifetime.
So I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm now really planning to go over, and I get a very strange phone call.
It was from her friend Nadia, who was working in France for world-renowned virologist Professor Luc Montagnier, who discovered the HIV virus and later won a Nobel Prize.
And she says, we've got this medication, however, it's not been FDA approved yet. Could you come to Paris to trial it? And I was like, no, I don't have the money to get to Paris, let alone to stay there for an extended period of time for accommodation and all of the rest of it. But I am coming to Italy in July. And she was like, no way. And I'm like, why? She's like, oh, my boss and I will be there. And I would be in Rome at the same time. That was like really when, your hair starts standing on end. Because, you plow in all of this energy into something and nothing's happening. And now you get that one phone call. You still don't know how it's connecting to the greater scope of what it is that you wanted. But you're beginning to start to see the things kind of falling into place.
Finally, the day arrived when Taron and her mom boarded the plane for Italy. It was truly a dream come true.
The pilot said we could remove our seatbelts. I looked at her and she looked at me and we says, Italy, here we come.
After a long flight, months and months of visualizing and planning, I was finally there. Get the sound bites of the people speaking Italian. I have all of these artists and they're busy painting, and it was just stepping into the dream. We get in the car. Rome is chaos in summer, and we'll probably drive like for 5 minutes and then not realize where it is that we're going, even though we have a map. And they'd be like, oh, Tarryn, just ask this man how to get onto this road. And I'd roll down the window. So I would go like, ciao signor, buonasera, ma come è possibile trovare questa strada? Dov'è questa strada? Which means, where's this road? And so now I would have someone who's now thinking that I can speak Italian properly, would now just go out and just like completely ramble. And allora devi fare una destra qui, poi sinistra, poi vai sempre dritto. And they were even speaking in like Roman dialect. So I'm like looking, and thank goodness for the hand gestures, because as soon as I'd be, grazie mille, grazie, and close the window, my cousin, my mom would be like, okay, where are we going? I'm like, I have no idea. But apparently we must make a right. We would do like these nighttime walks, pushing me 2 o'clock in the morning through these ancient ruins in this deserted, beautiful city with like just these yellow lights shining on these buildings and the streets. And of course we'd have dinner and drink lots of wine, and we just had an absolute ball. It was my dream come to life. I was extremely excited. It wasn't what I wanted, because the 3 requirements was that I go to Italy, stay longer than a year, and live in absolute luxury. I didn't know how the rest of it was going to happen, but I was just so excited, and that was just, my concentration on that.
And then at the end of the holiday, Taron met Nadia and the professor in Rome. They gave her the medication that they said might reduce the inflammation caused by her arthritis. And then things really started to unfold.
Nadia throws another bombshell. That she looks at me and she says, but Tarryn, you have to stay here. And I said, what do you mean I have to stay here? She's like, you can't go home. You have to stay here. And I'm like, no. So now I'm like really shocked. And I think it was at this point where everything just kind of goes quiet around you. And with the trust or the knowing that even though I can't see how this is all unfolding, something is unfolding, and it's unfolding in a very big way.
With the help of her friend Nadia and Nadia's boss, the world-famous virologist Professor Luc Montagnier, Taron Tomlinson was invited to stay on the estate and music academy of world-famous Italian lyricist Giulio Rapetti, known as Mogul. Like Taron, he too suffered from arthritis, but he'd cured himself and now wanted to help her.
Oh, finalmente siamo qui.
Eccoci.
Aspetta che muovo questo. Perfetto, ma che bello!
Beautiful.
Wait. L'unica cosa che mi ricordo. No. There we go.
Is this what you
I
learned
got
after
it.
2 years on a famous
Yes.
musician's estate?
Yeah, that was the only thing. Chopsticks.
That's good enough.
It's good enough, yeah?
Okay. We met through the Italian community in Cape Town. Tarryn, she's very close to Italian culture. She speaks fluently Italian. She's a friend of Mogol. Everybody would like to be a Tarryn friend.
So if you were invited to stay on the estate of Mogul...
Wow,
this
a
is
dream. Yeah, that's a dream. That's a dream because it's like a live history. Instead of studying the contemporary and modern music, they would be like to have that history real in front of you.
I remember very specifically thinking that no matter how big my fantasy was, it didn't even come close. Drove through this road, and on either side you have these horses that were running freely. And these long Italian trees, I think they're a type of cypress, on either side of the road. We're driving along the side and we passed this lake with like a little boat just like on the lake. You turn the corner and all of a sudden, like, boom, you see this huge estate and this clearing through the woods. We are talking about an estate that's got a hotel that has 70 rooms, 10 apartments, Mogul's own private residence, church, restaurant, a theater, conference center, indoor-outdoor swimming pool, soccer pitch, 26 horses, animals, cabins in the woods. When I was thinking about luxury, I was probably thinking about staying in someone's house, villa, or in a beautiful hotel. I just wanted to live well and to test this universal law about abundance. What I experienced was 100 times bigger. It absolutely blew my mind. I felt like I was driving into a fairy tale. So Mogul, I had no idea who he was. He is the biggest Italian lyricist of all times. He's written over 1,500 songs. They did a poll, I think it was in the 70s, and Mogul told me this, where him and Lucio were more famous than the Beatles in Italy. That's how huge the music was.
She loved it. She loved the people coming onto the estate. They had students coming there. She loved being amongst them, and she loved the music, and she loved the drama, and she loved the socializing, sitting and singing and playing piano. It made me stronger, looking at her. This journey that Tarryn's been through, I think there are so many lessons to be learnt, to be humble, to face your fears, to take the challenges, not to be afraid, and to be brave and dream.
There's really no words to describe it except that extreme gratitude. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, whether that is like to this higher power, but I think that it's extreme gratitude, not just for being there, but extreme gratitude for the fact that your thoughts create your reality. Because now I was getting first-hand experience of that, you know, in a very big way. And in a way that I knew wasn't just because of a chance happening. That just happened just like that.
Mogul was promoting an electromagnetic stimulation therapy at his estate, but they soon realized that Tarryn's rheumatoid arthritis was too advanced for it to help her. Mogul then suggested that she undergo a series of operations.
You know, I was thinking, okay, well, there I have to go home because, you know, they're not going to keep me on longer. And then Mogul says to me, look, I've got this friend that's this great surgeon here in Italy. And he's a surgeon for all of the soccer players of Juventus. I've spoken to him, and he will do your surgeries for you. You have to stay here. And I was like, because up until that time, I didn't want to have any operations. But now I've been offered this, you know, this opportunity to stay there and to have all of these operations. And the first thing that was going through my mind was, yeah, but who's going to pay for it? Where am I going to stay, etc.? is that you don't have to worry about anything. You're just going to have to stay here for as long as it takes. I do that and I'm thinking that's going to be a long time. Only because you know how long it takes to have operations, and I was supposed to have 4.
There were many delays, and it would take a year before the first operation took place.
When she was about to be operated on, I remember I was at work and I was trying to concentrate, but in the back of my mind I was thinking, I'm just praying the best for my child. I tried to also sometimes block it out, but you can never do that because it's always on your mind. And you're just worrying and thinking, you know, is she going to be okay? Is she? It's so you have that worry all the time that things are going to be okay.
Post-op, Taron found herself bedridden. She was thousands of miles away from home and in great pain. She had support from a special friend and a cousin who visited the estate, but in truth, isolation and loneliness challenged her as never before.
It's Saturday and I'm alone in my room. There isn't anyone in the hotel. There's just silence. I'm in the middle of a forest in an empty hotel, and I'm laying flat out on my bed with a beautiful view, but I'm alone. And I miss Cape Town more than anything. I felt like a bird in a gilded cage. I was trapped. My life was no longer my own. I was there for a particular reason, I was there for a purpose, and you know, we had to get this done, but I was monitored, controlled in everything that I did, the people that I saw, spoke with. And it was like, you know, I can't do this for much more, you know, and it was just like, I need to go home. I just wanted to go home desperately. Knowing that I'm the creator of my reality, I needed to know that if I was experiencing something that was making me feel bad, that there was an internal shift that I needed to make. The shift was changing this idea that I was living in isolation. I went into hospital and I stayed there for many months, getting my after therapy, the physio and everything else. But since that time I was never ever alone until I came back to South Africa. I've still not been alone. So it's that deep feeling of loneliness that I needed to change my concept of what it was and how I need to process that in a different way. That was the leap of faith for me.
After having 2 operations while living on famous Italian lyricist Mogul's estate in Italy, Taron Tomlinson wanted to come home. Her wildest dream had come true, but her strongest ties were with South Africa and the people that she loved.
So at the end of my journey, looking back, I spent a total of 2 years. I had gone and I had accomplished what I set out to do, but in a greater way. The biggest gift wasn't living on the estate and living the life that I was living. For me, the biggest gift is having evidence about this ongoing communication, because knowing that that is real means that I can create whatever it is that I want to create.
Grazie mille, buon appetito. Ragazzi.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito, certo. Grazie.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito. Buon appetito.
When I came back home, he began to understand, and we spoke about it, and we're still in contact with the family. It might not have ended in the way that we envisioned it to, but it's still a great part of the story. Luc Montagnier and Mogul, they both played a very, very big role in my healing.
Okay, you ready? I think. Okay, let's do 15 just to warm up.
Despite everything that I went through in Italy and that I only had 2 operations and not 4, it helped me greatly because now I can stretch my knee, I can stretch my hip as well. So one side of my body is completely straight. So with the proper exercise, I'll be able to, working with my biokineticist, get up and use my crutches.
Okay, 15 reps, lifting up as high as you can. 1, 2, good. 3, up as high as you
The
can.
operations Mogul paid for set Taron on a path to healing. Today she continues the work, strengthening her body and setting goals for the future.
2 more. And last one, hold and down slowly. The goal is that she wants to be able to stand again. Because she's in the end stage rheumatoid arthritis, we have to become more creative and try to find new ways to exercise. I feel like it's all giving you much more confidence than knowing. It's very good. The mind is an extremely powerful thing. Any gain that you're going to get in life is going to be made by success in small areas. Get the legs as far forward as you can. Pull.
I know what it's like to have and to not have. And I also know that I have thoughts or ideas or beliefs around scarcity. So I was learning that that was a lie, that the universe is abundant. And I wanted to test that theory. I started volunteering with a non-profit organization. We did a Christmas feeding inside of a very impoverished area in Delft in Blikkiesdorp. It inspired me to start my own foundation. The Bambini Dream Foundation. Bambini means children in Italian. It's a command to children, like to dream.
Bye, everyone.
I focus very much with teaching them the same principles that I learned, which is about how to dream big, but how you actually work towards it with your actions.
Why are you guys getting so big? Hey? How are you doing? Hi. Can we give you hello, Nathaniel. How are you? Good.
I know what it feels like to grow up with financial limitations. So there's a lot of things that I connect with them. And so for me, if I could influence them in just a small ways to let them know, you know what, I can actually do something and dream big, and it can actually happen. For me, that is my purpose of coming back from Italy. I need to impart that to other people, and who better than to do that with children?
But this is the nice thing, because all of you are working individually on your pieces. And when you work individually on your pieces, sometimes you become so concentrated on just this that you can't see what the bigger picture is.
There we go. Good.
We always think that, oh, I'm one person, what difference can I make? But if we all take responsibility to do our piece the best that we can, when we actually place it together in a collective, it becomes a much bigger and better picture. But not just our individual dreams, also our collective dreams.
And when you say abracadabra, ready, 1, 2, 3. Whoa!
Your purpose is much more so about what it is that you give than what it is that you get. Because you can get all the trappings, but your purpose is about saying, okay, there's something that I can do that's going to make an impact, you know, whatever it is. But you are using your talents in a unique way in order to make the world work in a better way.
Today, Tarryn shares her experience with adults too, about the power of the mind and the way it can help us to manifest our dreams. It's a spiritual technology that we all want to understand.
Hello. Hello, hello. Well, firstly, thank you all for being here. My name is Taron Tomlinson, and I'm a life coach and a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker, and the CEO of a non-profit organization. But above all of these things, I'm also first and foremostly a dreamer.
It's said that those who dream always create better lives for themselves and those around them, reminding us of the power of the mind and faith to radically transform all of our lives. You know, it's not all light and love in the journey of life, even knowing what you know.
Yes.
But it's a process.
It's a process, and also that we need the contrast. Were it not for the darkness, you cannot appreciate the light. The fundamental thing is that we've been given this creative power, but creativity is birthed from contrast. I wouldn't be able to have, you know, gone and live and do what I did and then inspire other people were it not for the contrast. Focus on the good in the people, you know, the good in your own life, so that you are using your thoughts in a constructive way, because you are absolutely creating every bit of your reality.